June 26th, 2020, Friday. It's here. 1 week ago, tomorrow, June 20th. And as I have in this little thing right here, Trump the loser. Unfortunately, when I say Trump the loser, that means that we are the losers. I predicted months and months and months ago the date June 20th would be a very profound date in the presidency of Donald Trump, not knowing how, why, or anything like that. I had used actually Bible prophecy to come up with June 20th. Going into the weekdays headed into June the 20th, there were a lot of things happening that looked like, on or about that date, just like I said, that something dramatic would change in his presidency. Little did I know that just right before the 20th, his big rally right in the middle of coronavirus, COVID-19, in the middle of nationwide, in fact, some worldwide protest in regards to police brutality, would change that date to June the 20th. That wasn't his original date, and it only became June the 20th just a few days before June the 20th. And I think everybody's seen what's happened since June the 20th. Number one, mind-blowing, really. Out of all the rallies that man has done, this was by far the most miserable and the most telling. Miserable from the standpoint of that the Coliseum that they had rented out for this occasion held 19,000 people. Only 6,200 showed up. They had even built an outdoor stage because they were anticipating another 40,000 outdoors, upwards to 40,000. They had to cancel it because in the minutes and hour or so coming into that time, they're going to do the outside speeches, Trump and Pence. And maybe a couple dozen people showed up. So they had to cancel that and move the stage and so forth. Trump is, I'm not going to say been totally quiet, but it's been a miserable, miserable time for him since then. Now the headlines are reading Trump is facing the prospect of a landslide loss. Not just a loss. A lot of the polls are showing Biden with a 2-point lead here in the towards the end of June. Record surge in U.S. obliterates Trump's fantasy vision. So in the middle of this pandemic, opening things up, what we've got now is we've got everybody open things back up because of the economy and because Trump touting his bullshit. And now the numbers, well, here it is. The U.S. hit a single-day record for new coronavirus cases, suggesting the sacrifices made by millions of Americans who stayed at home might have been in vain. That is really, really sad and really, really telling of this presidency and those that have followed his loud mouth. Now, the problem is like all the gains that were made because of premature opening up of our nation due to money, basically all lost now. Now, in the midst of this, what is Trump focused on? Now, I want to emphasize this because these are the people that talk about fake news, Trump and his followers. These are the people that talk about free press not having their voices squashed. They're concerned because Facebook wouldn't let them post fake news, or YouTube, or whatever. That was the concern. Well, who is trying to squash free freedom of speech? Who's oh, Trump. 2 books coming out, and of course they don't shine the best light in the world about Trump, and he's battling both of them in court. Well, one court came back and said that we're not going to stop the publication of this book by Bolton. That was coming out. His own niece, his brother's daughter, um, who, by the way, I think is a psychiatrist, a psychologist, I'm not sure, but she's definitely one of the family, wrote a telling book. And he's battling that in court. I thought you wanted free speech. I thought free speech is very, very important to you people. But you're going to go to court and try to squash free speech because it's not the speech that you want. And see, this is how hypocritical the whole thing is. Because if you're going to allow free speech, that means that you've got to allow free speech across the board. That it just don't work. You can't squash speech you don't like just because it don't reflect good on you or what you're advocating. So, gosh, just since June the 20th, the world has turned upside down. What was already upside down in the world of Trump has now been publicly shown as upside down. In other words, up to this moment, people were arguing and disputing about Trump shit, Trump 2020, Trump 2020, and trying to act like nothing had changed in the world of Trump, in the court of Trump. And unfortunately for Trump and his loyalist base, that's just not true. I'd already seen indicators going into this throughout what we've been through this year that those who were loudly advocating Trump was getting quieter and quieter and quieter. One, besides the numbers of people at the rally on June the 20th, there was another very profound. I watched a big part of it, so I can, as it was broadcast live, I saw part of Pence's speech, and I watched as Trump came out and did his thing. What was profound about it was not the loud and raucous crowd that were normally at a Trump rally. It was pretty damn quiet. A lot of things he said got almost no reaction. It was the same hate-filled speech. It was the same name-calling, belittling of others. Nothing positive about the speech at all. It was just a pounding of Sleepy Joe, and nothing upbeat and positive about it at all. Just talking about how awful the haters were, how awful the libtards were, how awful those that didn't agree with me, how awful they are. That's basically what it was. How great I am and how awful everybody else is that don't agree with me. That took up the majority of his speech. One piece of the speech, 7 to 10 minutes of it, was a rant he went into about a video that was captured and shown on the media of him walking down this slope. And he was walking like an old man, which he is. Well, he brings this shit on himself because he wants to talk about other people's age, like Biden's, and other people like Biden's. And he don't realize that you use that kind of rhetoric, you're going to shine a spotlight on yourself. if you're the same age as your opponent, Biden physically looks in a lot better shape than Trump does. Biden's respecting the fact that the virus is still out there. He's not trying to hold these big open rallies. So even the people that were strong Trump supporters are sitting back and saying, this, first of all, we're tired. This kind of rhetoric is just old. It's very old. So anyway, I just want to bring up to date on what's going on there. So in the middle of this, one other thing. Remember, the people that are rallying around this man are the same people that want to talk about free speech. And here's Trump fighting free speech because it don't put him in good light. And they also were the ones that ranted for a long time about too many lawsuits. My God. So here's Trump. He's suing his niece. He's suing ex-aide for writing a book. Now he's suing to get the Supreme Court to come out, and he wants to get rid of Obamacare. Right in the middle of a health crisis in our nation, he wants to take health care away from a bunch of citizens. So I stand by June 20th. I think June 20th. No, I had no way of knowing what would happen around June 20th, but this has been very telling. Very, very, very telling of this entire thing. So all this is hypocritical. It is BS. Where do you go with this BS? Gosh, I don't like Biden. I'm going to suggest that it's going to be a landslide victory for Biden. And it's not going to be so much that whose Republicans are going to switch sides. I think it's going to be because a lot of Republicans are going to stay the fuck home. Because they're not going to vote for Biden, but they can't bring themselves to either go out and vote for Trump again. We have a health pandemic around the world. It is real. It's not getting any better. I've got people I know personally that I thought had, better sense, who are just, I'm just getting tired of getting cooped up in the house. Oh. What would you motherfuckers have done in 2018 with Spanish flu when they didn't have TVs, they didn't have smartphones, most people didn't have air conditioning, had no gadgets? What would you people have done? Nowadays, you can stay at home and do everything and anything you want to do. Isn't your health worth something? Gosh, I would think that you people could do better. It's very, very disappointing. It really is very, very disappointing, but not really surprising. I brought up before that a couple of years ago, had a relative of, I say a relative, a young lady who wrote, "When did mankind become so horrible?" Have you never studied history? Have you never studied human history, the history of people on this planet? Humans have always been horrible. Long before there was a United States of America, long before there was a Donald Trump. This is all nothing new. This is not anything out of the ordinary at all. In the big picture of human history, this is about as ordinary as it gets. Human behavior sucks. We're selfish. We're arrogant. We do not learn from history. We twist our minds around things. When I was a kid, and in the generation before me, there was a story put out that we were to learn a lesson from: the tortoise and the hare. You ever heard of that story? Turtle and a rabbit, tortoise and a hare. The whole point of that story is they were going to go on this race, kind of like a cross-country race. So the tortoise just kept plodding along. The rabbit, he would zoom, and then he would look behind him and say, "Oh, I got time to take a snooze. Look at me. I'm so far ahead." So he'd kick back. He'd take him a nap. Turtle, constantly in that forward momentum, just steady as she goes. It passed the hare. The rabbit looked up. Oh, okay. Shoo. This went on and on. Well, end of the story. The turtle won. Excuse me. And this is what's happening in our world today. This is what, we're looking for immediate gratification. We're looking for leisure, vacation, leisure, all this stuff. I know people. I don't know where they get it. I don't know how they do it. I know a lot of people in their 30s and 40s who lay the fuck around all the time and get to do more in life than I do that work my ass off. Oh, it pisses me the fuck off. I see them. They got time for birthday parties. They do all the parties. They get to go to concerts. They do shit. But yet they can sleep all fucking day. They have no fucking motivation. There's always a reason. There's always a reason like that. Oh, I'm depressed. God, if I lived your life, I'd be fucking depressed too. Sorry, but I would be. Because you got no life. See, that's that self-absorbed thing, like that tortoise and that hare. You're focused on only yourself constantly. You can't get beyond self. And most people, and it's not that they don't care about other people, it's just like they're still, they can act like they care about other people. Don't get me wrong, it's not like they're mean and vicious or anything like that. But overall, it's like they can't drag themselves and motivate themselves because poor, pitiful me. Gosh, I've been through shit in my life. I've lost all my family. More than once, I've had a situation where I've lost everything in my life. I had to start all over. Tornadoes sunk my boat that I lived on. I can go on and on and on. I can get, and I can understand somebody, oh, you got shock, you got trauma, and it takes you a minute to shake it off. I get that. But to get in that state and live in that state and it's like making a career of being in that state. That's why we've got this whole situation. That's why I make the reference to this tortoise and this hare. If you make steady, constant progress. These same people never could stay focused on something long enough to see it through. They're going here, they're going here, they're going here, they're going here, they're going here. And if they don't get instant gratification from it, oh, ain't nothing working here, so I'm going to go over here and everything, and you don't stick to, and they're not steady. Like a turtle, they're not steady, they're not continually plugging along. It's kind of hit and miss. And Days go by, weeks go by, then months go by, and life goes by. That's also what happened with the reaction we've had with coronavirus. We need to make a sacrifice till we get this to stop. But we're impatient. Hey, I gotta open up Disney World. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. It's horrible, isn't it? Those motherfuckers today don't have a clue what sacrifice is. Spoiled, rotten bitches. That's what we are. Spoiled, rotten bitches. I don't care what you say. We're spoiled, rotten bitches. Don't have a clue what sacrifice is. Oh gosh, I can't go to Walmart. You can order everything you want online. A few days, it's at your front door. You can order food and they deliver the same day. We're living in a world where we get all the stuff we want. You're still not enough to stop the spread of a disease. No, because it's a Democratic hoax. It's bullshit. I ain't gonna wear a mask. Because we're selfish, we're arrogant, and we're stupid. That's just a fact. So you get this pseudoscience telling you one thing when the real scientists are telling you another. And then they're posting videos by a chiropractor spouting off about COVID-19. And I'm supposed to believe a chiropractor over the subject over an infectious disease doctor. Now, who's stupid? Who's the stupid one? And nobody researches this stuff. They just spread this manure all over the internet. So-and-so makes this claim. He's an MD. How do you know he's an MD? He's got MD behind his name right there on the video. He's got on a white coat and a stethoscope around his neck. He's an MD. Have you searched this? Have you done any research? You're just buying the shit. The research is like fucking chiropractor. He's got a horrible reputation in his own community. He's trying to sell fucking vitamins. Let me tell you what, I got a drawer full of fucking vitamins. I don't take them. I've studied all this stuff. You piss them away. If you want to change your health, change your diet and your lifestyle. You live your life off supplements because you don't want to improve your diet. Again, it's retarded. The cost of these supplements, you could eat damn good for what you're spending in supplements. Now, there's some people with some physical issues that are serious enough that they may need to take, of course, there again, if people will be consistent enough with their diets, they could rid themselves of a lot of things. They could rid themselves of insulin in a lot of ways if people did this early enough. But we don't have that control. Like, we don't have the control to sit back and say, I don't know if this COVID-19 is as serious as they say. I don't know if it's bullshit or not. But I'm going to act like it is. I don't want to be responsible for anybody getting sick or dying. I don't. And maybe you don't give a fuck. Maybe you're that selfish that you're getting out and doing something is more important than whether a handful of people get sick or not. Maybe that's things. I've got a right. They're in there fighting and arguing, these bitches, about wearing a mask. I carry a mask everywhere I go. It's no big fucking deal. What the fuck is this deal about wearing them? Are you fucking kidding me? And these are the same assholes that go to Halloween parties, and if it were a dress up some shit, they'd do it in a heartbeat. So the fuck what? What is it hurting? I'm losing control. God. Well, that's about all I will expend my energy on ranting this morning. That's about as far as I want to go this morning. June the 20th, that date was very important in the presidency of Donald J. Trump, just like I predicted on my website months and months and months ago. Very important. Back before the beginning of the year, June the 20th. He chose that date, and it's very telling as to what's happened. You don't have to dig. The people who now they're trying to still blame it on all these TikTok people that got those tickets. That's how and why the that's how and why the rally had such a poor showing. There was no limit to the tickets, brothers. There were no limit. They did not stop issuing tickets. They issued somewhere between 800,000 and a million tickets. They knew there wasn't 800,000 a million people coming. They were hoping for maybe 60,000 people. There were maybe 19 or so in that Coliseum that held 19,000, and there's an overflow of 40. Yeah, so they're expecting maybe 60,000. That's what they planned for. They knew. And anybody that wanted to go could have gone. What are they going to do? Prefer one ticket over another? They didn't say, well, if you have ticket number so and so, don't come. Because, I mean, that's a piss poor argument. That's grasping for straws. That shows how weak the Trump system is. That shows how weak the cult of Trump is. If they want to blame it on people getting, they're not going to use the tickets. So let's say Lady Gaga's coming to town. And let's say that Lady Gaga said, I'm doing a free concert, but you got to get online and get tickets. And there was no limit to the tickets. And 1 million people got tickets. 1 million people got tickets. And Lady Gaga comes to do her performance. Do you think that auditorium is going to be just a third full? Do you think that out of 19,000 seats, only 6,200 of them would be filled? Because people got tickets they didn't plan on using? I don't believe it. You don't either. Because those kind of defenses with the poor showing it's bullshit, and it's a cult following that does that stuff. Because in a cult, the cult is never wrong. Our cult leader, our great grand cult leader, is never wrong. They did it. They're persecuting our cult. That's the way they feel. Everything is that way. Trump is a whiny ass bitch. Nothing's ever his fault. He fires people right and left. If you were the CEO of a company and you kept hiring people that you had to fire, short time later, the board of directors is going to look at you and say, you're a bad judge of character, aren't you, son? You can't get it right, can you? See, that's the way Trump has been. He's got such a turnover of people in his staff, it's not even funny. But that's it. That's exactly what they're going to say. They're going to look at, that's what we should do with Trump. The buck stops with him. He hired the bitches. Don't blame the people you hired. I ran a company, I hired people. When my staff fucked up, they didn't blame me. They called me. If I did, I had to it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong to get these bad people? What am I doing wrong to get these bad workers, these bad managers? What am I doing? I keep doing this. It comes back to me. Is the world just full of people that hate and want to destroy me? But no, our great leader, Donald Trump, our great leader, he can do no wrong. He can do no wrong. It was the TikTok users, those TikTok users, they fucked him up. They got tickets they weren't going to use. They just fucked everything up. COVID-19 is there just to mess with Trump. Out there, COVID-19. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to social distance because it's all just a mess with Trump and my freedom. Even Stevie Wonder could see this shit, or Ray Charles, or any other blind person. Helen Keller, she could have seen this. She could have heard this. But my friends, like I said before, I've been around since Eisenhower was president. He goes back and forth. I have to say that this thing with Trump, though, is the most ridiculous, asinine thing I've seen personally, and I've seen a lot of shit in politics. But some would say that Donald Trump is the nationwide version, 21st century version of George Wallace. And if you're from Alabama, you've probably heard the name George Wallace. I was alive under George Wallace when he was governor, not just in the 80s, but the first time when his wife was governor. I know what those days were like. You want to make America great again? It was never great. Maybe for some middle-class white folks, it was great. Maybe for some wealthy people, it was great. It was never truly great. Blacks could not swim in a swimming pool with whites. They would pollute the white water, I guess. They couldn't drink out of the water fountain that whites drink out of. That's a white's water fountain. Something just would come out of their body onto the water fountain. I don't know, but you can't do it. Laundromat near where I lived as a kid, I remember distinctly. It said for whites only. Yes, that sign right there. Good Christian people. Good Bible, church-going Christian people for whites only. And they used the Bible to justify that. Oh, they had it down. From the Bible, they could tell you, they're superior. We're superior to their black asses. Oh, yes, I remember it. Is that the kind of great you're speaking of, Mr. Trump? And your cult followers? Is that the America great again? What about women? Women support Trump to make America great again? Anybody ever heard about the suffrage movement? Women couldn't vote. Married woman couldn't own property. Her husband ruled the roost. In the church, even into the 21st century, in the church, the woman had to be in submission to the men. Even today, I do weddings. Even today, these people have a problem with a female standing up to officiate their ceremony. A female. Are you kidding me? It's a male-dominant world. I've been privileged in my life. I am a white-skinned male. I got it. Pardon the pun. but I got it decked because I'm a male. That's why we said I got it decked because I'm male. A female could never say she had it decked, could she? But yet, you blacks and you fucking women are gonna support Christianity? Are you fucking retarded? Have you ever studied Christianity? Yeah, I don't get it. Wake up, people. Wake the hell up. Know something. I make America great again. I was down in Selma, Alabama. Got the video up. Had to go down there for another reason, but I'm taking a tour of the town, and I go to the Live Oak Cemetery there, where William Rufus DeVane King is buried. For those that don't know, William Rufus DeVane King was the highest elected official ever from the state of Alabama. He served as vice president. He was elected as vice president under Franklin Pierce, 13th vice president. He named Selma Selma. He was one of the founding fathers of the state of Alabama. When he moved to Alabama as a 30-year-old lawyer, Alabama was just a territory. It had not become a state. Thanks in part to his legal work, Alabama became the 22nd state in the nation, in the Union. He served as senator from Alabama and eventually was elected as vice president. He's buried at Live Oak Cemetery in a little mausoleum. There's a marker there, giving a little bit of the history I just gave you. I have made a pilgrimage to that cemetery for years now, to Selma. That cemetery has always been pristine, never been an issue. It was never trashed out. It was never poorly groomed, if you will. The grass was always neat. There were no weeds. It was well taken care of. With this time, it looked in a shambles. It was shocking. There was litter. Litter, trash on the ground. Weeds growing up everywhere. The grass knee-high, in most places where it grew. So I made my stop at the mausoleum where William Rufus DeVane King is buried. And then I decided, okay, when I left, I was going to film my way going through the cemetery, circle, and come back out. It's time to leave. All the way through this huge cemetery, it is overgrown, it's trashed, except for one section. One section was pristine, lush, neatly groomed lawn, very well kept. That whole section full of Confederate flags, a Confederate monument, and fresh flowers on Confederate graves. In the midst of everything we're going through. In Selma, where some people would call the birthplace of the civil rights movement. People, if you would wake up the fuck up and put as much energy and effort and thought into fighting for the well-being of us human beings instead of preservation of stone statues and old fucking shit like that, maybe we could become a great people. Maybe we could. It's good to know history. It's horrible to live in it. History should be taught. We don't teach it very well. Not at all. We highlight history, but we don't really teach it. Not unless you major in some history later on. But in our schools, grade schools, we highlight history. We give the condensed version, the Reader's Digest version of history. and we romanticize history. These monuments are not history. These monuments do not tell history. They are only these representations of people that once lived in our history. They don't tell the story of that history at all. To preserve a stone statue of this soldier or that person or whatever tells no fucking history. There may be a little marker at the statue saying this was Colonel so-and-so that served in the Confederate Army and blah, blah, but it don't tell the story. To think that removing a stone statue is removing history is bullshit. Because that statue does not tell history. Not anywhere close to telling history. It's not so unlike the Christians advocating for the 10 Commandments, ignoring the fact that there were 613 commandments, not just 10, and ignoring the fact that those commandments were given to Jews, that Jesus had his own version of those things. So if you're a Christian, you should be wanting like maybe the Beatitudes. And if there's a God, if there's this Christian God out there, do you think that it's impressive at all that you put anything on a wall or a stone or a statue? I think there's something there about worshiping by faith, not sight. And I think that those teachings, those words are best written on your heart. And it's the same way with history. If history were taught properly, which it is not, then those lessons would be written on the heart. Because those lessons are not written anywhere on that statue. On none of those monuments is there a lesson taught. By going by that monument, you learn nothing. In fact, the majority of people have walked by these monuments hundreds and hundreds of times and never gave any thought as to what they represented. They might know, oh, there's a statue of Stonewall Jackson. It don't tell a story. It gives a name. It gives a teeny bit of information about this one individual, but it does not tell the story that took place. You take the names, we get caught up in personalities. And I try the same with Christianity too. I say they Elvis-size Jesus. They miss the message because they get caught up in personalities. And this is the failure of the whole system. People think they know the Bible. They know Bible stories. They can talk about Bible stories, see? And it's the same way with the Civil War and other parts of history. Oh, I know the War of 1812 was fought in 1812, and I know it was a battle against blah, blah, blah. I know the Civil War was the North against the South, and it was, wasn't about slavery. Well, technically, they're kind of true, but the underlying thing was, slavery. Because they don't know history, because it's never been taught to them appropriately. They're more worried about a Confederate flag than they are about their fellow human. These artifacts are more important than human beings. If they fought as diligently and as loudly for human rights as they do for statues of humans, we might could become a better people. But in the midst of they're saving statues and want to get rid of health care. This is the president you've got. Yeah, he's going to Supreme Court to try to abolish Obamacare, which gave health care to a lot of people that never had health care. But at the same time, it's like, you're not going to remove that statue. I'm going to fight for that statue. That stone monument is very important. Now, fuck your health. But to hell with your health. But that stone statue and that flag, that Confederate flag, we got to preserve them things. That's part of our heritage. Oh, but healthcare? Fuck you. Nah, no future. You think there's future? No future. Not at all. Okay, I said I was going to end this thing, and I've now gone into 46 minutes of this jibber jabber on a Friday morning. Friday is called Friday because it's named after Frigg, Frigg, who was the wife of the Nordic god Odin. It's another misconception, a misteaching by Christianity. Of course, Christ was real because our calendars date around Christ. It's not. That's bullshit. That shows you're speaking of ignorance, because the one that started the Christian era, as they call it now, this system of calendaring came about a long time after that date. It wasn't like Jesus was born and somebody woke up and said, "One, we're starting over. The Messiah is here." No, it didn't work that way. Not at all. It was an afterthought after they created this Jesus teaching that a few centuries later they decided, we're going to honor this story that we can't prove. We're going to honor this date that we can't prove anything happened. We just have built it that way and changed our calendar. But that really wasn't the reason. But anyway, our history is not taught at all. I lived through history that's already taught wrong. And I make this reference point. I lived and I remember distinctly the day. I can tell you what I was doing, where I was. It was a phenomenal day. JFK was assassinated. I remember Walter Cronkite coming on TV. I remember the emotions that the country had. Our president has been shot. I remember that clearly. But yet, even though that event was caught on live TV, even though that event was caught on film, even though there are people like myself that were alive at the time this event happened, there are eyewitnesses to the account. We're in a modern age. We're still in that period of time where people could say, "Oh yes, I was there." Even though that is true, we still cannot agree on the facts of what happened. But yet, 2,000 years after the fact, when there was no films, there were not even any eyewitnesses to this Jesus. You got it all figured out. And most people, a lot of people, I'm going to say most people, I don't know, I hadn't talked to most people. Most people I have talked to are ignorant to the fact that there's not even an eyewitness account of Jesus in the Bible. None of the Bible accounts are written by anybody that was eyewitness account. The point of all that is simple, that you are taught wrong. You're not taught honest and truthfully. You are given a brief history, a superficial history, and very few people take the time to dig any deeper. First of all, most kids don't care a lot about history. They're into TikTok. They're into making a grade so they can get out of that grade school and get on to a career somewhere and make money and have a car and all. I'm old enough to drink yet? That's where kids are. Not all of them. So anyway, okay, that's enough. I'm rambling on about nothing here. I hope you have a good day Friday. I'll probably stream a little bit tomorrow. I'll be on the road early, going to Mississippi. I'll be in Mississippi for 2 days. Hope everybody has a great, super day. And I may be checking in on and off. I don't know. We'll see. Take care.